George, I'm going to say,
What have we got here?
you can dive in and I'll dive in. Yes, I can. Well, tell me when I'm in the right place.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready and I'll start. I'll just find my
I've been done with all picked up stuff. Do you have a program last trip? So when you get that, remember. It's coming on.
Bishop Stephen is supposed to be the first to speak, but I don't know where he's gone. So I thought I'd flannel for a minute while here he comes.
Thank you, George. Sorry about that. Lost my pride. Yes, I just changed crosses actually. This is a point of the ecumenical nature of the face. The cross that I was wearing this morning, which is a very plain cross, was given to me because I was the Archbishop of Canterbury's ecumenical secretary by Pope John Paul II for his 25th anniversary. And I remember going to New York as one of the jobs he was doing, and the Cardinal there looked at the cross and said, And he looked at it and said, "How's it you got one of those before I did?" But then I thought, well, if we are really ecumenical, so I put on a little thing now in honour of Father David Gill and Michael Mountain. But this is an encolpion, which is what Orthodox bishops wear, rather than a cross. And this was given to me by a came over, I think, to England for 4 separate sessions of 4 weeks each time to learn English. And as far as I could tell, by the end of it, he still didn't know any English. Anyway, that's all by the by. I'm going to say a little bit about sort of how we got to where we are. And Harold may, George, well, I hope Harold wasn't interrupted. Slightly alarming, isn't it? But George may interrupt and say, no, it's not quite like that, or whatever. And then George will go on to say a bit about what we might do in the future. And then I'll interrupt to say it's not quite like that. So I first came up here in 1970. And I think that at least one visit Harold had made before that with Harry Bates, who was then the vicar of Eglinton and the Archdeacon of Lindisfarne. The thing used to go together at that time. And Harry had brought him up here because Harold had looked at 3 other places, I think, in Shropshire, in Somerset, and in North Yorkshire. And eventually decided on this place. So I came up with him and a surveyor's tape measure. Not that I know anything about surveying. Someone had to hold the other end of the tape. And that was about it. So that's my memory. But my first memory of Harold was, of course, he was a friar at Almouth, as David was saying too. And a very good memory, as I said to someone earlier on, was of him cycling at a tremendous pace with his habit tucked into his girdle towards Almouth station because a steam train was coming through. And he got along to go and see the steam train.
We'll miss your words on this. You have to speak out distinctly or they'll miss.
Okay, yes. And so he was keen on trains, which I am too. So, and you'll find still there are quite a lot of magazines about trains and so on, which we're keeping because it's part of the history of the place. So at that point, he decided to take over the ruinous farmhouse and build roughly on the footprint, and he needed help, and so he went to friends of his, because already he was doing just as Father George said, gathering around himself people who had been inspired by his vision, and a number of them tended to be in Cumston Theological College, where indeed George had been, and when I was later, but after all this. And so theological college students helped Harold build the initial building, which is the one with the big parlour area, kitchen, the bedroom on the ground floor, which later became the library, and there's a bedroom upstairs, which I often inhabited when I came on retreat. And the other end of the upstairs, of course, is the original chapel. And if you haven't seen it, do go and look at it. We intend to keep it pretty much as it is. It might need a bit of tidying up.
Well, I thought we needed some more guest rooms.
Eh?
I thought we needed some more guest rooms.
You did?
Yes.
Right. Instead of the chapel, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, right. Well, as ever, Harold won. I think that was true with the architect much of the time too. So that's where the thing really began to take off. And the SSF had been immeasurably generous to Harold because he was a full member of the SSF, but they allowed him really free range to go and pursue this eremitic and contemplative vocation that he had. And ultimately, because he did leave SSF, and this thing became independent, he was much inspired by Father William of Glasshampton. I can never remember his surname. Sir William Sir. And William set up the beginnings of what still is Glasshampton Monastery, which is a Franciscan house, which is focused quite a lot on the novitiate over the years. And when it died as a monastery, when he died. And so I think one of the things that Harold was always fearful of was he'd work so hard, which he did do, and would the vision die with him? And there were a bunch of us really, including George, who's known him longer than I have, and drove him round, we'll tell you more later, drove him round the hermitages of Italy many, many years ago. And we were determined that it wouldn't die with him, so we did a number of things. George and Murphy would be very good at collecting together the music, which we were playing and so on. And then we also worked hard to try and make sure that, we produced a book which George and I collaborated on, and there are copies for sale at drastically reduced value, only 10 quid. But seriously, if you want to know something about the origins of the place in a very readable way, go and grab a copy of Oneness. It's down the other corridor there. We were given the copies by SCM Press as part of their contribution. So if you bought a book, it will be supporting the monastery. So that was the second plank, of trying to make sure it kept going. The third plank was to make sure that part of the vision, which was the connecting these two bits, because after the first part was built, the next piece to be built were the cells in 1989. They were blessed by Robert Runcie, then Archbishop of Canterbury. I was up here, and were you up here for that, George?
No.
No. And I do remember this. There was Ben Hopkinson was just talking about this earlier on to me. I raced on my way home down the road on that very long straight line between Long Framington and Long Horsley. And the Bishop of Newcastle, with the Archbishop and the Archbishop chaplain in his car, came past at a more sensible speed, only to see the car that I had hired on the roadside with a police car next to it. And Alec Graham, the bishop, had said, this is a notorious stretch, a notorious stretch. You know, people often be caught here going far too fast. And there's some poor devil there, you see. People didn't know it was me. Anyway, that was then open at that point. And the money for that, he raised through his friends, really. Again, it's going back to the same point. And one of the really key people was John Lowen, Father John Lowen, who was the vicar of St Mary Monks. And he managed to galvanise members of the parish, A, to give money, and B, to actually do work up here. But Harold was always fairly allergic to having too big a crowd. He'd find all this a bit sort of threatening today, you see. And so eventually, Runcie stopped doing it. But we did get to the point where Michael and, I can't remember his name now, the two builders who lived out at Broome Farm, did that splendid work with the help of the architect who did work with Harold on the chapel. So that's 1989. And the next thing was, as you heard, when Harold's mother died, she left the vast majority of money, as I understand it, and his nephews would confirm this or not, the vast majority of money to Harold to build the chapel. And as you heard, she's remembered in the east window. And that was a remarkable piece of work because it somehow brought together Harold's vision with the history of this part of Northumbria, the Northumbrian saints. So there are bricks and bits of stone from the beach on Lindisfarne, deliberately built, if you look around, built into the chapel as a sign that this is part of the inheritance of the Northern saints. And that was commissioned in 2004, and the chief sort of celebrant was David Hope, then Archbishop of York, and then the Bishop of Newcastle, Martin Morton, and I was the third one as part of this process where we did it. Great crowd of people came, including people from either Methodist or United Reformed Church, so it was truly ecumenical. And that's what has always been at the heart of the vision. It's wonderful to see Brother Paul here, and I expect there are other people in the Roman Catholic Church, and certainly, and then Frank over there, and Father David, and so on, who are Orthodox. And I hope we'll get some more people from the free churches. So that brings us up to 2004. And part of what we were trying to do as a group, George and I spoke particularly, alongside the book and alongside keeping the music and so on, was to try and see if we could get this link between the two parts built. It was a crucial thing because it could be very blustery weather in the winter in particular, and also you lost loads of heat. And I suppose, if I'm honest with you, I was quite lucky because I was a residual trustee of a trust that we were winding up. There were only 4 of us, so we all agreed that we would wind up. There wasn't enough money to do really substantial things. And we agreed that each of the 4 of us could nominate a good cause, religious cause, that if we all agreed to it, as it were, so I'd come up with a thing, number 2 trustee, number 3 trustee, number 4 trustee, and if we all voted for that, that's what happened. And so that gave us something like £160,000, which has been enough, probably, to build this, but that's before we look at things like radiators and all the rest of it, and so on and so forth. So I always have to say that because we're about to have a huge spend out to pay the plumber, the person doing the solar panels, the electrician, and of course the builder who we paid in installments all the way through. And so that helped us to do this. Lots of other people have been generous. I went to a Franciscan third order meeting one day, and a woman there said to me, I've always admired Brother Howard and what he's done. She said, I'd like to make a gift to the Hermitage. And so she gave me a cheque for £10,000. A friend of mine who was at school with me, who lives down in Callanay Castle, he goes to church, but he's not a sort of, I wouldn't call him devout, but he's pro-church meeting, unless.
Do speak up. Speak up.
He gave us, in succession, £2 £5,000 from his trust. So people have been generous, and if you know of anyone else who might be generous. So that brings us up to date, really, I think. And this stage will mean that the library is finished. And as I said, that has virtually been given to us for the builder. The rather decorous lamps you'll see around, given to us by the electrician. And they remind us of what the old oil lamps look like. And the radiators here were all given by the plumber. And what we're now waiting for is to have all the plumbing finished. And there'll be a system running throughout, except in the chapel, which has its own heating. And each section will be isolable or isolatable, so that you can just turn off the bits you want. And when that's done, then the builder will finish doing work on the cells so that they are comfortable. And we've also had to make sure that they are they satisfy fire regulations. So I think that's enough, really. And then I'll stop, and George will tell you what we hope all of that work, when it's complete, will enable us to get on.
So thank you. That was the past, and I'm going to talk about the future. It won't be so long because nothing has happened yet. And the truth of the matter is, we don't know what the future holds. Our aim has been to continue the life of the Hermitage, and there are 2 key things of the life as it has been with Brother Harold here. One is the living of the monastic life, the prayer, and so on. And then the other bit is hospitality and people coming. And I said in the Eucharist, I mean, I'm getting fairly astonished at the number of people who have been here and have known Brother Harold. He was always complaining nobody came here. But I mean, it's hundreds. And I mean, a new man emailed me last week, said he wanted to bring his kids, and he knew Shepherd's Law, and I'd never heard of him. And he'd stayed here. So there has been a huge attraction about this place, which we want to continue. So what we can do, we can't continue the monastic life as such, just by waving a magic wand, but what we can continue is the hospitality. And so lots of people are interested in coming here on retreat in particular, or just coming for a quiet time. And if you've looked in the 4 cells, they're quite a mess at the moment because the builders haven't, on that bit, worked as fast as we'd hoped. But each one is like a little house. An upstairs and a downstairs, kitchen, living area, bedroom and study area upstairs. And now, not in Brother Harold's day, but now there is a shower. Because having a shower here was always a bit of a problem. There's just one very curious shower through there, with just cold water. So I don't know what he did. Well, he had a tin bath, but didn't he? He used to have it in front of the fire in winter. It's still there, the tin bath, somewhere. Anyway, so people will be able to come once the cells are ready and have a self-catering time here. We're not aiming to lay on catering. So you come self-catering. It can be small groups, that would be very good. And we just wait to see what develops. You know, we get the place ready, and then we get the nest ready, and then see if any birds fly, which I think they will. Then the heating was log-burning stoves in the cell, which was wonderful, very romantic, but very unreliable. And in very cold weather, you had to huddle over it and also wear long johns and so on.
And not to mention the carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide, yes. So they have gone, sadly, and we now have central heating. You'll see that's going in. So that, and it will be separable, so each cell, if it's just one person, just that cell will be heated. Now, also one of our aims is for members of religious communities to come and stay for a while, perhaps to coincide with people who are coming for a retreat, to accompany them, to take the services. Also, we have monastic weeks. At the moment, I come twice a year and do a monastic week. I sing all the services. When I get back to Murfield, the brethren say, "Where is your voice gone?" But you have to sing. I mean, I think in the offices you have to sing, and I ring the bells, and people do come to some of the offices, which is great. And we hope other members of religious communities will do that. There are all sorts of other things, like Father Paul here. You brought, was it 50 scouts?
Yeah, yes, a group of scouts. I didn't bring them, but they asked me to come. They asked me to accompany them.
Oh, right. Yes.
This visit here, yeah.
Yes. Very good. So there's opportunity to work with young people because there's plenty here to get them interested, but also jobs for them to do to help keep the place shipshape. And of course, what would be marvellous would be for there to be a monastic community here. They don't grow on trees, and also our priority is to get established what we're working on now. We've got to get that fully established and into the future, the hospitality. Can you think of anything else I can say, Stephen?
No, I think that's,
basically it.
yeah, I think we're also concerned that we should be locally related. In other words, if you come from different parishes, please tell your parishes, that this
Yes.
place is
Yes.
available.
Yes.
And George mentioned young people. We're very, very keen that young people never normally encounter the contemplative life. They wouldn't even know what it meant for them. And so, we hope that there will be perhaps at the inside of a day. I mean, Father Paul might bring up people from his parish, use this area here, use the chapel. And we hope, I'm going to see if I can persuade Howard to give us last year's kitchen. Because we need to do better than the present kitchen.
There are all sorts of things
Yeah.
popping up. I haven't told you yet, there's a group of priests in Sweden who want to come and want to support it.
I'm not sure
They
the Brother
think-
Meeker will be very pleased.
Yes, so there are unexpected things coming from all quarters. One very important thing I haven't mentioned is Christian unity. And that was an important thing for Brother Harold and in the sort of foundation of Hermitage. And so we're working together, the Roman Catholic Church, the Church of England, and the Orthodox Church, and of course the free churches. We weren't able to track down, Harold used to have good relationships with members of the free churches. We haven't been able to track any of them down, but it'd be good for them to be involved as well.
If you live in a town where there is a Methodist or URC church that's still, taking over,
I'll let them know.
let them know, yeah.
I'm URC Wooler.
Well, let them know that, everyone's got.
I mean, Christians are sadly divided, but in the monastic
Yeah.
life, those divisions can melt away,
Yeah.
just singing the offices,
Yeah.
being in a holy place, being quiet, contemplating something.
Let me just say how encouraging it is to be in this space with all
Oh,
of you.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
Yes,
it's just about amazing.
and it makes a super meeting space,
It does.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's nice and wide and
And if you want to do something with tables, you could do that throughout. But also, the danger is we will help you with an enormous amount of information you never wanted to know in the first place. Here's an opportunity for you to ask questions about the past, the present, and as much as we can the future.
yes.
So,
Please.
no, Mr. Rita.
Oh, if you stand here by the radiator, there,
Oh,
and then
yes, that's all.
the world will see you.
Oh,
And,
This really is our treasure.
speak up.
yeah. I became a trustee of this place almost by mistake. We were in a community meeting and I wasn't listening properly. And our superior said something about this place in Northumberland, and each community was going to nominate a trustee. And then I heard her say, I thought Anita would do that. What? What was I going to do? Anyway, it's been a revelation, and it's such a super place to be, and such a worthwhile thing to support in all sorts of ways. But the bottom line is, it doesn't happen without money. So I'm not just begging, but and I expect most of you have already, made your donation or have already regularly to us. But can I just draw that to your attention? There is something there. And if you're a taxpayer, please gift aid it. So there are forms on the table just in the other part of the corridor. But this we do, and anything that you have where you can take a collection box, please let us have it, and we can claim gift aid on cash collections that are made, so that all that happens. But
And one of the key points as well is that trusts are the things that can often be most
yes,
helpful, because they have more money and
Yeah.
sometimes corporately. So if any of you know anyone who might be part of a trust or who might,
Yes.
that's what the sort of thing that we really are grateful for. We haven't all brought you all here just to turn you upside down. Not at all. We brought you up here to celebrate two things,
Yes.
Harold and the
Yes.
stones, and also these new buildings. But obviously, it's a bit stupid if when you're here, we didn't actually say what our needs are going to be in the future.
Yes. But the information is all available on pamphlets that you can take away and share with other people.
Great.
Thank you.
Do you
Right.
have, do you have a rough idea when you'll be up and running?
Well, I hope we'll be up and running, certainly
Yes.
by September.
Wow.
But it
Yes.
depends entirely on, the plumber, I think, will have finished his work in the next few weeks. And one of the reasons why the builder has been behind on the cells is because he's not been able to do anything until the plumbing and some of the electrics are finished. Otherwise, you end up sort of colliding, you know.
Yes.
And so some of the other days, you should be put different lights in here, and the electrician said to us, well, I'm sorry, hard luck, you can't do that because the season's now finished, you see, and so on.
Yes.
So I hope I'm not being unrealistic, George, in saying September. That gives us another 3 months, well, 2 months.
Really, the key thing is when the builders are out of the way.
Yeah,
Because there are 2 guest rooms that are usable already.
Yeah.
There's no facilities in them at all, no wash basin or anything. They're just going to be, but until the builders are off the site, it's a bit difficult to be receiving
Yes.
guests.
and the shower, which I have used for the last 25 or 30 years when I've come up here, has no ceiling. It has no insulation in the walls, it's just breeze blocks. And
No hot water.
Well, sometimes, sometimes, but I can tell you, you know, if you're there in November, which I often was, it's quite chilly. But when they've got the plumbing fixed, then the builder will actually put in a ceiling and insulate the walls. So it's things like that that are still to happen. And of course, the other thing was they were doing the cells and taking out the wash basins, which were rather more like a urinal than a wash basin, tiny things. But when they went in there, the lavatories were in an appalling state. And so just after we cleared the whole of that area, loads of junk, tiles, rubbish and so on, would you believe it, in the corner of the cloister over there, 4 old lavatory plans appeared. We've had to put new so that, I don't know, the plumber has not yet made it clear to us whether or not we'll be charged a bit more for that. It seems like that. I mean, if you know anyone who's particularly keen to, what's the word, sponsor a lavatory, then do let us know.
Stephen, they do in Antrim.
Yes,
No, I know they do, yeah. Well,
twinning of blues, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not quite seriously, if anyone, someone said, well, you haven't got very much money to give, but you know, I might have
Yeah.
500 quid or something like that.
I'm sure, I think we have the funds to cover the building work. I think one of my concerns is that when it's all finished.
Yes, exactly.
The place still has to be insured, that odd things will happen, we still need some money.
Yeah, we've got to do something to the roof, because there are one or two, the old bits of the roof, leaks, etc.
Celia just here has asked, will the chapel be open all the time? Is that correct? When somebody is here,
Yeah.
if there's nobody here, then everywhere has to be, obviously, has to be locked up. And so we just have to see,
The more people we get to come, even if they only stay for 2 or 3 days, then we can have the chapel.
Do you have Wi-Fi here?
Yes,
Yes.
So do you have to send up machines for donations by car?
Yes.
well, we may do, yes, but we haven't got one yet.
we thought, and I inquired about it for today, and the advice I got was that they're too unreliable.
No, they're not.
I mean, we've got 2 of them at Murfield, they seem to be all right.
Depends on the Wi-Fi.
And of course, it's a very good way of making donations.
Yes, it is.
Well, and the Wi-Fi is good news because John Carr Ellison, the owner of the estate, said Alcom, which is the name of the company, only a few clean of it, and not always quite come up to scratch. So he said, I'll get on to Alcom and ask them to put Wi-Fi into Shepherd's Bush. So that's been done.
Yeah.
It's a good signal.
The signal for phones is marvellous here.
That should work.
And the Wi-Fi system, I mean, I had a session with the engineer yesterday because we've had difficulties. The thing is that there are 3 boosters and you have to start one, then the next, and allow a certain amount of time between each. So we've got to do quite detailed instructions for people staying here about how to do things like that. There are ways in which, you know.
But the other good news is that we've been told that probably, when it's good weather, the solar energy thing, the solar energy is enough to run all the lighting and so on and so on. It's not enough to run all the heating. But when it's good weather, there'll be extra power produced, which can go into the heating. So it's not wasted. We're not on. We're called what's now called off grid. We're not on the grid, so we can't pump our extra electricity into the grid. And to go have it put on the grid, it's going to cost about £500,000. We decided against that.
Where does the water come from? Is the water a mains water or?
It's
The
main
water, this is now another genius of Harold was thinking he managed to choose a place which is only about 200 yards down the hillside from a reservoir, underground reservoir, just up the hill.
So it's mains water. The gas is delivered, it comes in cylinders. And the generator is to be replaced anytime now by one twice as big, which somebody has paid for, and we're selling the old one. And when a person comes, you have to switch the generator on. So there's a switch in the wall there, and that gives you your electricity. In the winter, I mean, in the summer, it'll all be provided by solar panels.
And to keep the sense of variety going, the person who's given the money for the generator lives in Taiwan.
And we had a professional energy survey done of the site. And
Through a
what
friend of, is this really?
was her name? Helen, was it her name?
No, Anne.
Anne, and she said that from about Easter to about sort of Harvest Festival time, the solar panels will provide all the electricity we need. So it's just in the
Not in the winter.
not just in the winter that you need the generator.
Less than 20%.
And are you on a septic tank?
Yes.
Yes, that was built by Francisco Brother Nathaniel. I still have in my mind a picture of him digging.
Yes. Good.
Wonderful.
Is that
Any
it?
other questions or comments or suggestions? Look, and if you have suggestions, then email me or George. If you want my email, it's very simple. It's Stephen with a PH .Platten, Platten, at iCloud.com. That's pretty simple.
Or you can email the trustees' email address on the website.
So do let us know that, and the more you can do to publicise the place.
Yes.
We want people to come,
We ought to point out that the Friends of Shepherd's Law have a separate website, and a lot of people think it's ours. We're trying to sort this out with them, but you can tell our website because it's all about this place, and so on, and what goes on.
Yes,
So.
yeah.
Good.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
no, thank you for coming. And let's hope next year we might even double the number because more people know about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for those who are watching, I think we will be able to stream Orthodox Vespers it's 3 o'clock, isn't it? 3 o'clock?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Good. So we're closing down for
We
now.
had challenges, so for example, flow gas. No, not flow gas, no. Johnston, who are the suppliers of oil, I said,